Hey everyone, so today's video is kind of a product review, I guess. I was contacted by Sarah Renee Clark about her product she has, which is the Color Catalog, and she asked me to check it out. I ended up really liking it, and she set me up as an affiliate, so I guess this video is kind of technically sponsored, even though it's not paid product placement. Sorry, this video is going to be a little bit dark on the edges. I had to have it a bit dark so you can see the screen nicely. So as you can probably tell from these little thumbnails here, the Color Catalog is a source of color palettes. It's a PDF document with 250 different color palettes. So let me show you what the pages roughly look like. There's an intro and instructions, all that good stuff. But first I'm going to show you what the pages look like. So each page has a picture and then the color palette underneath. And it actually shows you the hex code for that color. So if you're using Photoshop or something, you can just input that code to get that exact color. It also shows you the RGB values and CMYK values. And then there are blank squares underneath these swatches so that you can swatch your own art supplies on this if you want. So you could print out the page and then use your colored pencils, your Copics, paint, whatever, and swatch underneath. You obviously don't have to swatch directly on here. You can just look at it and swatch on a piece of paper, but that option is there for you. And each page has this navigation, like I can hit the home button to go back to the top. You can browse by colors, keywords, and collections. So if you click by color, it brings up this. Let's say I want pinks, more specifically blush. I can click on that and it brings me to the blush collection, and I could glance at it and say, I like that one. Click on it and it brings me right to that palette. You can also search by keywords. I want pastel. Click that. Here are the pastels. This one looks really cute right here. Ooh! Another option is by collections. So, for example, winter. It's winter right now. I'm gonna click winter collection. Again, you can click on the one you want. Boom! Brings you to that page. You can even click the color wheel right on that page to bring up the browse by colors, and you can click that little magnifying glass to go straight to browse by keywords, and then you can click the little swatches thing to get right to the collections. So it's super easy to navigate. You can find websites out there that have pictures and swatches like this, but this is just so handy because it's one PDF, everything's right here, and it's interactive. I don't know, I just like this. I never go back to those palette websites because I don't know, I guess I'm maybe too lazy, but this is just so much more convenient. So I'm gonna go here to coloring books because she actually has coloring stuff too, not just the catalog. Look at all these. Man, this is making me feel lazy because I said forever ago I was gonna make a coloring book, and you know what? I never did. I worked on a few pages and that was it. There's other printable stuff like calendars and bookmarks, things like that. She has so much, oh my gosh. And then of course the color catalog, which is $29 USD. Now, one thing you can do with this is print out the entire book, like I did. It's a little excessive, you don't have to do this. If you want, you can just print out a page that you find relevant, or you don't have to print it out at all, but I just thought I would print it out because I like hard copies of stuff, and I thought it'd be neat to show you what it looks like all printed, just in case you want to do something similar. Some people will find this very wasteful, but the paper is recyclable, and in terms of ink, I have a refill system for my ink, so this is about $2 worth of ink maybe. I stuck the front cover in the cover of the binder and then put the rest in here. This is a 1-inch binder, and if you print it the way I did, it just barely fits. So what I did is I printed 2 pages per sheet of paper because I didn't really need the full page to be one swatch. And I just did single-sided because, as you can see, the paper is a bit thin and you can see the ink through the page, but also because if I do Copic swatches, the ink will bleed through the paper, and so that's why I didn't do double-sided printing. But if you want to do that, go right ahead. So it's 2 pages printed per sheet of paper until I got to the back, then I just printed 1 per page because these are pretty small swatches. So if you print it that way, it should fit in a standard 1-inch binder, assuming your paper isn't too thick. This is 24 pound. Regular printer paper is usually 20 pound, and I have some other stuff that's 28, but yeah, I use the 24 for this. And it just fits. I just like having something physical to flip through, even though navigating on the iPad with a PDF is much faster because you can just click on stuff, but I think it's fun to just whip this out and flip through it. I don't know. I just like having physical books. It's kind of like how with an artist, you could browse their Instagram to look at their art, or you could buy their art book and flip through that too. I just like physical copies. But that's definitely optional. You don't have to do that. So now what I'm gonna do is find a palette in here and use it to create some art. So here are a couple things I'm going to color. One is a coloring page from Sarah Renee's website. I purchased a nautical pack and it came with 12 pages for $4. And then I sketched up this drawing which says, "She can't hear you." I just sketched it on my iPad and then printed it off and traced it. So this is the palette I ended up choosing for She Can't Hear You. It is palette 142 and the colors are interesting. I really wanted to pick something that was different than a color palette I would normally pick. I was gonna say I usually go for pinks. And so I wanted something different, a little more naturey in a way. So this one has blues, browns, and a reddish brown. And I began swatching Copics. In order to keep my swatch list a little bit clean, I was swatching on a separate piece of paper, and then once I got a close color, I would add it to the page and label it, although I was a little inconsistent with the way I was labeling the swatches. So I was like, whoa, write the letters on top of the color. No, write it beside the color in case it's a dark color, and so it's a little all over the place. But I really struggled to match the lighter brown, and the closest thing I had really was E71. But that doesn't really match the darker brown swatch, which I found the closest to be E57. I maybe should have just considered the darker one to be E74 so that they would mix better together, because like they look really nice on the swatches. Like the swatches look great on the palette, but then when I try to find my Copic markers that match, it's a little bit trickier. But with Copic markers, there's only so many colors. There are a lot to choose from, but if you're trying to do an exact color match, it can be a little difficult. Now, just because these are the colors I chose, it doesn't mean these are the only colors I'm using in this piece, because I still need to shade and stuff. So for example, I have B37 and B99 for my blues, but I still need other colors to shade those with. The B99 is really dark, and so it would be the shadow color, and I would pick something lighter to go with it, which I did, but I actually also used a really dark gray to shade it because it is already the darkest blue. I used a cool gray number 8 or something like that as the shadow color. So the color in the palette could be a highlight, a midtone, or a shadow, whatever you want. So I thought I would use the browns for the skin, the blues for the hair, use the red on the lips, and a little bit in the background as well. Hi, Kiki. She's saying hi to everyone. She probably wants to play. Soon, Kiki, soon. I'm almost done here. For her cheeks, I wanted to use the same red I used on the lips. So what I did is I took the E71 and touched the tip of the E07 and then drew on the cheeks. That way it wasn't just straight up E07 on the paper. It was a bit lighter and softer. I call it the tip-to-tip method. And then I used the red in the background, which is nice because there's only a teeny amount of red on her, which is her lips, and so it was nice to add more of that in the back. I just really like limiting color palettes because it just makes the art look better instead of every drawing using every color of the rainbow. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing that, I just don't like doing that for every single piece of art I do. I just like to keep it more limited, and so this is a nice way to do that. It's almost like a little challenge. You pick a color palette and you stick to that. Of course, you don't have to 100% stick to the palettes. You can tweak them as you want, but that's just one way of going about it. At first, I wrote She Can't Hear You in my dark blue, but it wasn't popping enough, and so I went over it with a really dark gray. So there she is, and she can't hear you. So for the next color palette, I wanted something a little brighter, and I really liked this one, and I thought, hey, look, there's no pink in it too. Look at me trying something new. But that purple is on the pink side, and when I was swatching my Copics, my RV66 was the closest thing to it, which is a little even more on the pink side. I feel like the swatch looked more purple on the screen than it did printed. Because that's the thing about printing out these palettes is you're not going to have exact color because it depends on your printer settings. And so to me, the printouts look pretty close, but it did look more pink in my printout. And then with the RV66, it still looks purpley, but then when I used a slightly lighter version of that color, it was like RV63 or something, that one definitely looks pink. And so You know, it looks pink in the end, but that's fine. It still looks really good. I decided I wanted to primarily use the dark blues in the background, so I did this splotchy look because it's water, and it makes sense to make it look a little splotchy. I don't know. First it was more like a gradient from lighter areas to darker areas, and then I went and added extra splotches at the end to make it look a little more textured. Then I was left with the lighter turquoise color, the purple, and the light green for the rest of it. I did incorporate some of the darker blues here and there, like to maybe do the center of a flower or something, but I wanted to make it stand out against the blues in the background, so I didn't want to use too much of those blues in the main part of the anchor. At first I chose a light gray to color in the actual anchor that all the flowers and things are sitting on, but it looked a little bit too light because I thought, oh, the background's kind of dark, so I'm gonna go light with this. But then there's actually so many light parts in the background too, plus the flowers and leaves and stuff are pretty light, and so I went with a slightly darker gray. It was a bit hard to get some nice value contrast between the anchor and the background because the background has lights and darks. I do feel like I maybe could have picked different colors for the light blues because it doesn't really look turquoise anymore. It does look more turquoise in the shadows, but the lights, like I did use BGs, which are blue greens, but they just look too blue. Like I maybe should have went to like my BG10, BG11. Those ones are a bit more green, so it would have matched the swatch a little bit better. During this, I was super tempted to add yellow because man, that's my little go-to accent color is yellow. And I was making myself nod. I was like, no, Bailey, you're trying something new. You're not gonna use yellow this time. But it's so hard because I love making the centers of flowers yellow. And I just thought, oh, that'd be a way to get more colors in here because it's hard when you have so many small objects all overlapping and you don't want two things that are touching each other to necessarily be the same color. And I had to just give up and let that happen. I tried my best to separate out colors, but I thought, you know what, just let it happen. And I'm so glad I did not use yellow because seeing the final result, I think it just looks so good without it. Not that it would look bad with it, but it was a nice change and it looks really good with that limited color palette. So like I said before, this line art came from Sarah's website and it's part of a larger coloring book, but I bought the smaller pack, which was 12 pages for $4, like I said, and it was the nautical pack. So if you're trying to look for the same one, I'll actually have a link to that pack down below as well. I'll have a link that leads directly to the color catalog and one that leads to the pack that I got this drawing in. I actually really like that she has different options like that. Like she even has individual sheets, not for every single design, but some of them are available individually. So there's a nice mix. Do you want to try just one coloring sheet? Do you want a little pack or do you want the full thing? It's up to you. For the bottom part of the anchor here, I did flat base color first and then added all the shadows. It looks kind of neat pastel like that. I'm still glad I shaded it, but it looks neat like that too. It's just that because there were so many small areas to color in, if I did one object at a time, I was constantly switching between markers. So I thought, hey, for this last section, I'm just gonna grab the pink marker, color in all the pink areas with flat color, and then I'll shade it after. And same with the other colors. It just helped speed things up a little bit. I think I said this once before, but when I'm watching back on these videos and I'm doing the voiceover, I can remember what I was doing / watching while working on those parts. Like, I'm just getting flashbacks from 40-Year-Old Virgin, because that's what I was watching while I was coloring this, like during one of the sittings. I did it over a couple sittings, but while I was coloring the actual anchor parts, I was watching that, and that's all I could think of was 40-Year-Old Virgin. Such a crude movie to be watching while I color this gorgeous, beautiful, dainty line art. So the last thing I did was use a white gel pen to fill in some of the bubbles and to do an outline around the entire thing. I also did that with the She Can't Hear You girl. I guess I was just in a gel pen mood. It was really to help things pop. And because like I said, it was hard to get the anchor to really stand out from the background because there are light and dark areas. And I just thought, hey, why not add a white outline? It'll pop a little bit more. I know not everyone is into the white stroke look, but I like the look. It almost makes it look like a sticker or something. This was a very fun page to color in. It's very beautiful. So thank you, Sarah, for creating such an amazing coloring page. Also, thank you for sending the color catalog my way. I'll have links down below to everything. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.